The Blast from Our Past Network.
Hello and welcome back to Why This Film, the podcast where we reach back into your childhood, pluck out a movie and have a chat about it. I'm Emily Slade and welcome back.
You watched it so many times before and now you're gonna watch it again. But it's been so many years since you last saw it and now you show it to your friends and they're like, what?
What am I watching?
Why this film?
And I'm joined this week by Miss Sips from the What Size Drink podcast. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
How are you? I'm so sorry. I'd written down the name of your podcast and I was like, where is it? Oh my God, what?
Don't worry, it's a handful. Trust me, it's a big handful to say sometimes. Even when I'm recording, I'm all like, wow, I have a lot to say. Okay? so
it's brilliant. Tell us quickly how you came up with that name. What is your podcast?
Definitely. So my friend actually, it's Chloe, and she's actually been on the show a couple times, believe it or not. And we worked together at the time. And I used to give her my movie reviews via drink size. So if the larger the drink, I wasn't really anticipating it. The smaller the drink, I had big anticipations for it. So one day, I think one of the biggest time frames was Avengers Endgame was coming up. And I was all like, I'm going to bring a soda can into the theater because I don't want to miss anything.
Yeah.
So, and she has been on her own route of creativity and she listened to a lot of podcasts. At the time, I didn't listen to a lot, but now I'm crazy about them because I am a podcaster now. Mm-hmm. So, and we tried it one day. She's like, let's podcast and see how you like this. And from then, it's been a crazy ride. You can't see it. I have all these mixers and
oh wow,
everything. It's crazy. So I am trying to be a full-time podcaster like everyone else in this world who wants to be a full-time podcaster. And yeah, I'm working on rebranding right now. I know my fan base, the sippers, are like, what's going on? You've been so quiet. Where are you? Hello? It's coming. It's just when you have life and you're trying to do that at the same time, I'm not a celebrity. I'm trying. So yeah, that's exactly where I am right now. I am shifting gears. I'm trying to step outside the box and kind of own it all in together.
Yeah. Yes. Love it. It's a great podcast. Definitely check it out. Similar vibe to this one where it's just very sort of casual talking, but it's so much fun. You're very funny.
Oh, thank you. You are too. I love how lax and great you are. I'm thinking the same thing too, girl. I love it.
And props to more movie-based female-run podcasts.
Thank you. I'm glad that you said that because my rebranding is actually moving in that direction, more female-based, you know? So, and it's not that don't like my male, actors, actresses. Of course not. I mean, actors and directors and screenwriters, but still the females are on the come up, It's, females are the future, so. Yay.
100%. So I'm very excited because your chosen movie is E.T. the Extra Terrestrial, came out in 1982. And the IMDb breakdown, a troubled child summons the courage to help a friendly alien escape Earth and return to his home world. What's your relationship with E.T.?
When you first asked me, I was between this one and a couple other movies, and E.T. is just a stronghold. I remember when my mom, she introduced me to it because of course I was not born during the same time as it was getting made and put out. But I think what I like about it is because I watched it as a kid, and you see this kid go through a divorce in the background, and he finds his little alien friend. And my parents went through a divorce too. However, I had my sister to rely on, but just to see that play out and how he relied so heavily on E.T. as a friend. It's the relationship that they build, and it's amazing over a short period of time.
Yeah.
Think about it. It's a short period of time that they're together.
Yeah.
You know? And of course, E.T.'s, you know, he's extraterrestrial, so that also heightens the whole. But it's great. I think that in itself really hit home for me. The friendship, and also just relating on the whole background part of it. Because not many people realize when you first see the first scene, you know, besides E.T.'s arrival, but when Elliot and his family are in the background, and his mom gets there, and she kind of is in a little bit of an upset mood because of their father. You know, you get the gist of, oh wow, just went through a divorce, yada yada. She has all the kids. You know, I don't know what the custody looks like.
Yeah.
But
well, he's in Mexico.
Yeah.
And that's heartbreaking. It's just summed up in one line. She just turns around and goes, he doesn't like Mexico. And then it's off screen. And you're just like, oh God, such clever screenwriting, so much weight has just come from these small moments. And we're still seeing it through the children's eyes. Because I may have watched this once when I was a kid. It was definitely like, I knew it. I knew the like, da, 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 da,
yeah.
and the flying across the moon. But I'd only ever really watched it once. And then it came on TV a few months ago. And I was like, oh, E.T., I haven't watched that in ages. Like, oh my God, I'll fucking sit and watch E.T. Love E.T., right? It's got to love it. It's E.T. I cried the entire way through the movie.
Oh, wow.
Like, everything made me cry. Like, the music, the frog scene, when he's dying, when he comes back to life, when he flies, both times.
I thought I was bad. I mean,
I was like, why am I crying? When he's, I cried from start to finish. And I was like, my God, like, what was that about? And then I rewatched it for this chat, and I did the exact same thing. I was just like,
it's a tearjerker. I tell you, it gets you every time. And you know, we'll talk about like the last 15 minutes of the movie, because that's the best part, honestly. I think. But like the time frame as you go through it really pulls you in, one thing after another. It's like, damn it, Steven Spielberg, why are you doing this to me?
Literally, he has such a cursed gift of just chucking these characters on screen, and you're instantly like, oh, that's my new best friend. Like, I am a member of this family now, and I'm going through what they're going through. And very few movies have that instantaneous, like, it's so clever. And I was watching it and I was thinking a lot about Stranger Things, and I loved the first season of Stranger Things.
I love Stranger Things. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. And obviously it draws a lot from E.T., among other things, obviously. And I was so happy to see this being homaged in this way. And then I was rewatching E.T. and I was like, Stranger Things is like a cold, clinical operation compared to this movie.
Yes.
Like, it feels so much more cynical, and it's not. It's still coming from a place of love and nostalgia. But watching the original, I was like, yes, Stranger Things has got nothing on E.T. Like, there's just something.
Nothing.
It could literally just be the fact that they'll have been using like a Super 8 camera, or like the CGI isn't very good, or it could literally be little technical things like that I'm picking up on in like this is the real deal. I don't know, but I was just suddenly like, this is so inviting, as you say. I feel so warm watching it, and it's so and it's the same with Gremlins and the original Jurassic Park, all of these like movies. You're instantly in their world. Like, very clever things. Like, I noticed you didn't, other than his mom, you don't see an adult's face until the government come in.
Yes.
So
oh
clever.
My gosh. Yeah, it is clever, because everything is focused through a child's eyes, through a child's mindset of how they see and view things. And when you really think about it, children see things as is. You know, they don't really They're not judgmental. They're not, discriminatory, anything like that. And I think that's great.
Mm-hmm.
And, especially the way the world is right now. And that's a whole different topic. But, just to see that kind of magic. And you think as a kid, too, when you first, started having your own experiences and being exposed to things, you just take them as they are.
Yeah.
And it's just like that in this movie. Elliot just takes E.T., as he is, like, hey, just come in my house and eat my food and take my pieces, he like invited him like it was a sleepover,
And then he's got the even deeper understanding because he has that literal connection to him where they like, oh God, it's so good. Because they could have easily have done this without that, but because they did it, it's so much better. It adds 40% of the brilliance to the movie.
Yes. And there was a mysterious magic to it, everyone is very, I guess, has the little taboo topic of UFOs and ET, but Steven, as well as the cast too, made it seem like, wow, it's okay to be friends with aliens, it's awesome, it doesn't have to be so taboo as we think, and I think that plays a part into the whole, kind of magical sense of the whole story playing out. I think it's so cool, so and speaking of magical things, or maybe even imaginary, a lot of people don't know that Steven Spielberg, when his parents got divorced, he had an imaginary friend. So that was a little bit of basis, for the screenwriting for this, and he worked with, I can't remember if she was a producer or also another screenwriter, but her name was Melissa Matheson, and he worked with her to get this screenplay going for E.T. So, and it's interesting how Steven draws from his own experience, and plays it out in here too, So that in itself, I think, is cool.
It's so cool, and you can feel that. You can feel the solid foundations of this movie, and you can feel that they've come directly from the feet of Steven Spielberg. Know that this movie was important to him. You know how much time and care was taken into every decision that was being made, and I think that's why it comes across as such a solid movie. I could probably watch this movie every single day. I'm not even gonna lie.
Oh my gosh, thank you. I actually have what is it? The ending theme by John Williams, on my Spotify. And I listen to it every day. It's 15 minutes and 2 seconds. I know exactly what happens every single time.
Yeah.
And people think I'm crazy. And, some people are just listening and stuff, and here I am freaking out John Williams, and I'm like, yeah,
man.
And you have the images of what's happening every scene,
yes, it's matched so beautifully. And I always knew John Williams is obviously amazing, and he works really well with Steven Spielberg.
Right.
We all know that. And then it was when I was watching it literally just now, and the spaceship, the door goes up, and the music's BOOM, and then the music just sort of cuts, and then it comes in really slowly as the little thing closes in on E.T. and he disappears from sight. And I was just it's so good.
That was a tearjerker right there. That screenshot, that cinematography was off the chain right there. To close in on his heart beating,
right. Everything about that scene, and the mom who's just there, who's just exhausted from the whole thing. And
right.
Got probably my favorite character, that random dude that's just I've been waiting to see an alien since I was 10.
Oh,
and
yeah.
She's we're going to see the spaceship. And he's oh my God. And gets in his car. And he's yes! Live your dream!
There.
It's so good. And he's just a tiny little character. I can't even tell you his name. Tiny little character in this. It
tells you too, just what you were saying, Steven put so much focus on the kids, when you see the adults, you're why are you even in this shot? This is for the kids. Yeah. So, but no, I think that's great. This movie, oh man, did you know that they actually were thinking of doing a sequel to this.
Oh god.
And yeah, and it turned out that Elliot was supposed to be kidnapped by some bad aliens, according to I think it was Wikipedia about this one. And E.T., he was supposed to like phone E.T. to come save him. And it's like, can you really see E.T. in a battle with another alien?
With like the queen from Aliens, like
yes, exactly. He would be murdered. He would be so murdered. Like
no way. No, stop.
They totally scratched it because they were like, I don't think that's gonna work out very well.
Because as you initially pointed out, very rightly so, this movie isn't about a kid and his alien friend. It's fundamentally about a kid going through a divorce.
Yeah.
And all of Spielberg's movies aren't about what we think they're about. They're about community trying to save their property from like landowners. They're about like the question as to what we do with the scientific advances that are given to us. Like it's not just about the like surface level poster that we see, and that's what makes them so good, and that's what makes them so timeless. And I think the only worthy sequel for E.T. that we got, I don't know if you had it over in the US, you must have done, Sky over Christmas had Henry Thomas come back and reprise his role as Elliot in an advert, and E.T. came and visited his now grown-up family.
I think it was perfect. That short little Christmas thing. I think for over here they did with Xfinity, but that short little snippet was perfect. They did not need anything else.
All we needed, like a little nod to it. And when it came on, I was like,
I'm listening.
And that was enough.
Right?
If they'd done a whole movie, I would have been like, boo.
No, I feel you on that. When I first saw it, I was like, is this what I think it is?
Mm-hmm.
And then when I was like, wait a minute. Oh my gosh. Like,
it also meant that I was like, wait, why do I know that actor? That can't, is that the original Elliot? That's insane. Right. And I go Google him and I'm like, fuck me, he's in like everything. It's Elliot from E.T. in Howling of Hill House. Like, what? Since when?
Oh my gosh.
Blew my mind.
Whew. Yeah, I know. Like, whew. There's just so many great parts. Like, the one thing I want to know, and I've never actually looked into this, is how did Steven think of the scene where they're, where E.T. wants to phone home and they do the whole bike scene over the moon? And to me, like, how did he think of that? Like, when you're writing these things, I mean, do you really imagine that? Or do you, like, I'm not a screenwriter, anymore, but that was such a magical scene. And of course, the music itself really played into that,
100%. It's so interesting. Yeah, like, was it that he was like, well, I know that I want them to fly. I have that image. And then someone else was like, oh, well, let's put it in front of the moon because that'll look nice. Or whether he was like, I need them to go in front of the moon because space and he's the man from the moon. And then someone's like, well, let's have them be on their bikes because that's cute. Or like, it's so, you're so right how every little thing of this movie is so perfect. And it's like, how did you come to that? How many rewrites and drafts and how many people gave you these ideas? Was it all yours? Was it something that you'd harbored in your head from being a kid, or something that you'd always wanted to do? Or did you just turn around one day and was like, should we just try to stick the moon in the background on that shot?
Right.
Like,
It happen, it makes me wonder if stuff like that really does happen. I know some stuff it does, but it's like, it's kind of crazy to think about,
Yeah. And it's so iconic. It's instantly iconic. Unforgettable piece of like print screen desktop wallpaper moment.
Like, if you know Steven Spielberg's production company, Emblem Entertainment, you'll see it in the background. Like, it's that iconic.
Yeah.
Like, it's like right there. It's like, oh, okay, I understand now who made this.
And he's provided us all with a very easy last minute fancy dress costume for all of our movie themed fancy dress parties that we go to.
Yeah,
Just shove on the red hoodie, hold an ET.
Actually, I have a little Frenchie, and I thought of getting a basket and putting him in a white cloth and me dressing up as Elliot.
Yes!
And doing the little fight scene.
Yes!
How it turns out, yeah.
It's
I thought
perfect.
his little ears would stick out like that, though.
It's so good.
Oh my gosh.
So there are so many, we've obviously talked about the main iconic moment across the moon and then again across the sun with all the other kids. It's funny, like I feel like I need to say that the CGI of that last moment hasn't held up, like in any sense.
Oh, well, definitely.
But it doesn't matter almost. It's sort of like I would hate for them to go in and George Lucas it and try and update it.
I love how you say George Lucas it. That's like so perfect. That's so perfect. No, I totally agree with you because, like, they're even doing that with, like, I think it's the Disney movies, the animated Disney movies back from the Renaissance era of Disney. And to me, it doesn't matter. It doesn't take away from the story, and I would say the same thing as you did when it comes to E.T. You're not there for the special effects. You're there for the story, And you're
so swept up in the moment anyway.
Right.
It's only that I was like, oh, that's really glaringly bad as they're coming down. But then I was like, who fucking cares, man? Like, they just yeeted themselves over the government. And
like the scene where he leaves and the ship is there, they do the rainbow. It's like, oh, that was kind of rough, but it's okay.
I love it. John Williams is there to be like, I love it.
The awesome part though is like E.T. was puppeteered, so
insane.
Yeah, so like some parts you could see there was a little bit of the CGI part, and then there's other parts you could tell, okay, he was a machine or someone's behind him doing the works, like Sesame Street or something, So I think that helps too, kind of knowing how far they needed to go to really make this, happen. What scene was it? When Elliot's older brother, when he first sees E.T., that actually is the first time that actor saw him. So
wow.
So his reaction in that movie is completely genuine.
That's
he's
amazing.
Like, oh my God, this is where you guys, like, it was so funny. So, oh man, I when I read that, I was like, oh gosh, so that's like, he was really freaked out. I
think I would be. Like, even today, after we've had 20 years of it in our subconscious, I think if I was confronted with the E.T. puppet and it was being animatronic and its eyebrow was, like, moving, and then it started being like, Elliot, I think I'd be a bit like, can I stand behind something, please? Like,
don't touch me, please.
Bit much. I love puppetry. I love animatronics. I think it's brilliant. And because it was so, I mean, obviously they didn't have another option really back then, but like, because E.T. is physically there and being controlled so beautifully, I assume he's a Jim Henson creation. I can't say for sure.
That is a good question. I don't know if he is a Jim Henson creation. I don't know who was like behind the makeup and design. I know for sure, what is it, her name? I think Kathleen Kennedy was also on the production side because, between her and Steven, as well as working with George Lucas, she was, man, like, I gotta give props to her. Like, she's been, and she still is, but she has been in some of the, behind some of the best movies. Like, it's crazy. Go Kathleen. The future is female, people.
Yes. Oh my God.
But I don't really know who was behind that puppetry or that design, actually. What I think was interesting, though, because, Steven just did Close Encounters, and those aliens from there are completely different from what E.T. looks like.
Yeah, so true. I do love they reference it in this one. Which is so cute that, like, I mean, and of course you've got a bunch of Star Wars references in this one as well. Like, again, it's so good because it's like, this is your world. Yeah. Like, they also went to see that Steven Spielberg movie at the cinema, and they have the toys.
Right.
Because it's your world. Like, I mean, he sums it up in a line. He's like, can't he just beam himself up? This is reality, Greg.
I know, it's like a slapstick in the face right there, you know? Like, come on, get it together.
I love it. It's literally the best fucking line in the entire thing.
I know, right? Like, I was just totally like, whoa, you know? Oh, gosh, man. What kills me is when, I don't know how they came up with the idea of the makeshift communicator, you know? Like, I know what it's made of, but it's just the idea behind. I think it's great, you know, but it's like, how did they come up with?
It's that classic, like, every movie in the 80s would open with that sort of like homemade device that would like crack open an egg or some water. So I guess it's just taking that idea where they were like, let's makeshift fucking everything. And like, but the fact that even that this alien has this idea as well, where he's like, well, I've been watching Earth, and you're all fucking batshit over making shit that does other shit with shit that already exists.
Like, I'm just gonna put this fucking shit together and glue it. Here we go.
Boom. Phone home.
You know, that kind of drops back to what is it? Back to the Future. I like how you like crack an egg and stuff like that, because in a way, you know, that DeLorean, may be high in advance. But you remember when Doc was like putting some water or something in it? I can't remember. Something like that. And it's all like, oh, okay. Now we're back to our level of how to make shit happen.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of similar in terms of like 80s, make it simple, science, you know, sci-fi, you know, gadgets.
It's fun as well.
You know?
Yeah.
So
nothing's dangerous. Nothing's
right.
And I think that's why it's so nice having that character there when the government are like, oh, quick, a fucking alien, let's like do all these fucking tests and shit. We do still have that adult figure that's like, this is so important to me because I love aliens and you have one here and please don't hurt him and we should maybe listen to the kid. And like, it really pushes that. He's very good at not just being like, all adults are pricks kind of thing. Which I think is important because otherwise you could possibly go forward in life. I mean, is this a movie that you watched frequently since being a kid and then like ongoing?
Oh yeah. Like, and I like seeing it as a kid is magical. It still is. And I think my emotions are even more invested now. Because I've seen how my life has played out, and in as an adult now, you wonder how is Elliot's life going to play out after the divorce, and then he met E.T. E.T.'s gone. You know, as a kid, that I'm not saying that's completely traumatic, but that's life-changing.
But it's huge, yeah.
So, and it's still a tearjerker. Like, I know, when you watch it, you already know what's happening, and you know what's going to happen. And your tears are already coming, even moments. You know, like it hurts every time. And my mom, she'll walk in sometimes and she'll be like, "You're watching this again?" Like, mommy. So like it's as an adult, I still think it's fantastic. I can't wait to have kids and show them what they're missing, you know?
I think it will last. It will 100% last the test of time, especially because there's nothing really problematic in it and there's nothing really very dated in it that it will be able to just be timeless in the best sense. And that's huge in this day and age. I really think that kids coming to it now will enjoy it, as you say, like, because how can they not? It's just such a good story, and that will out for everything.
And I think also like it, you know, we've seen the alien movies where they turn on you, and when they, you know, like Alien, like no one wants to have something come out their chest and eat them later, you know. and spit acid on them, you know, like that in itself is fucking crazy. You know, it's just nice to have that one alien. And I know there's a couple others out there, but they're not as sensational.
They're not as good.
As one,
Yeah.
you know, that doesn't go after you or
Yeah.
you know, was here to cut your throat, you know, like
Literally.
punch you down like Predator.
Yeah.
So like it's nice to see that in a different light too, you know, because everyone's all about, you know, probing and this and that.
Yeah.
You know, they're gonna come get us and extinct us, you know. So it's nice to see it from a different perspective, you know.
Definitely. And of course we have baby Drew Barrymore here.
Yes.
Little baby Drew Barrymore.
Yes.
She's fabulous. I would die for Drew Barrymore.
And the crazy part is when Steven, when he casted her, it was so funny because he already knew her and he already knew how she was. And he was thinking, you know what, she'd be perfect, you know, because like the way because he also had like I think a little brother or little sister too, that he used to like terrorize and stuff. So he also got influence from his own siblings and how he used to treat them, you know, with casting and stuff. And that really kind of helped with Drew Barrymore. And he wanted that, I guess, that part to be very curious, but also very like,
Yeah.
you know. So, and she was legend too, you know, coming from the Barrymore family and her own career itself, you know. She's awesome. I love Drew Barrymore. You know, if I have to say,
much time.
I think she's the most famous out of that whole cast. I don't know anyone else who's like done
much at all. Yeah.
You
Or
know?
like, and like I've obviously seen Henry Thomas in other stuff, but I never knew it was him.
Right.
I always know that that's Drew Barrymore. She is
right. I love her in it. I like it when she hides or they hide him in that closet. It also when she dresses him up.
And he's like, oh God.
Right? What have you
Elliot.
typical sister stuff.
And E.T. just takes it in his stride. He's like, I look great, Elliot.
Right?
So good.
I was wondering where she was in that commercial. Like, I was hoping she would.
Yeah, that would have been really cute if she'd like come around to visit or something.
Right.
That would. I mean, she probably couldn't afford her. Let's be honest.
You're right about that.
Or like Skyped them or something.
I'm like, oh, it's true. She's here too.
That's such a good point. Next Christmas.
Right? Oh man.
And I have to talk about the scene where E.T. gets drunk AF in the house, and everything he's doing, Elliot's doing at school, which is a beautiful scene, and it rises up to this moment where all the frogs are running around, and it's kind of gross. And like the thing happens on the film, E.T.'s watching the film, and the actors are like doing this dramatic like grab from the door, spin around, kiss her. And Elliot does it in the like biology lab with this like random girl from his class. And I cry at that moment because I'm just like, this is such a cute, clever, brilliant idea, and it's played out so adorably. Like Elliot has to get another kid to like stand on so he can reach the girl because she's like 3 times his height, and it just everything about it, I was like, you're right. It's just like, how did you come up with this? Like, this is so good.
I love the part, like it plainly, like you said, in a clever way, just says, wow, they're connected in a telekinesis way. Like, plain and simple. And you know, in other movies, they make it sound so serious, or it's a epiphany moment, and then more serious shit happens. No, not in this book. No. You know, it happened a completely different way.
Yeah.
I loved it. I think it was great. I like seeing E.T. getting kind of
the like use of the puppet is So comical when the mum comes in and Gertie's like, Mom, I want you to meet someone, and she opens the fridge door and like thwacks ET, collapses, and Gertie's like, I think you might have killed him though. And it's just like so much is happening, and every bit of it is like so well choreographed, and like it looks so casual and improvised, but you know that it is like tight, and that's to be respected, and this whole movie is that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Like, it's interesting though, like to share like how clueless Mom was during the whole thing.
Yeah,
you know, because
it must be terrifying for her to think back and be like, so when he was talking about that goblin first time round, he was in a field alone with that creature that I now know is safe, but there was a time where she didn't. So she must have been. She's an excellent understated performance throughout. Of you feel safe when she's around, and she's not a bully. She's clearly going through her own stuff as well, but she does try and put the kids first. And God, to have 3 kids of such varying ages must be so hard.
Yeah. I mean, completely different ages too. Like, I could not imagine as a mother doing that. Yeah, I was like wondering, like, because I know for sure my own mom, if she heard me talking to myself or thinking that I'm talking to myself, she hella would came in that room instead of just knocking on.
Yeah.
You know, like, I know for sure I hella been like,
kick the door down.
Right? And think, who the hell is this? My friend.
They found him in the forest.
Exactly. You know, like the scene where they're taking pictures for Halloween, you know, and they're saying, this is Gertie, and Gertie's like under a sheet, even though it's like, as a mom, would you really think your little girl would be under a sheet? Like,
yeah, and you can see that it's not the shape of Drew Barrymore as well, and but you get it because she's got all of this stuff going on. The minute you bring something like that up, you just be like, well, you know, she's going through a lot, so she probably missed some stuff. But yeah, so they thought about it. They thought about everything.
Oh yes, they thought about those parts carefully. You know, the other interesting part, I was looking up when I thought of this movie too, is that Steven, he kept a lot of the child actors separate from the adult actors. So they can still be, he wanted them to feel like, you know, we're actually going to go through this as if it was the movie or the story being told, you know? So they would really just appear during those times, and they would film it as the storyline was going on, you know? So that way, that way he could like draw the real emotions from them, you know, and really build them up in each chapter and character. And I was like, wow, that's smart.
That's really, really cool. That's such a good idea, because kids especially could form such a strong relationship with like the guy that's meant to be like, I don't know, stealing their alien friend from them. But by not ever seeing that person until he comes in to take your alien friend away, you'd be like, sorry, who the fuck are you? Like, what are you? Get away. That's so clever. That's such a good little idea. So simple.
I know.
It's clearly so effective. I do love that. You mentioned earlier about how like he saw E.T. for the first time in that scene. I really love that kind of thing. Like in Alien, they didn't tell the cast that John Hurt's burst chest was going to burst, and so all of their reactions are real. I hate when directors take advantage of their crew and their performers, and they, like in The Exorcist, the director just slaps a man around the face to get a better performance out of him. Like, I absolutely hate that. And I really want to make the point now to just be like, those are two completely separate things. And one is a really cute, clever, harmless way of making your movie cool and better, and you know, and it's not that, you know, they didn't trust that actor to make a good reaction face, because if he'd seen the alien for the first time and made a shit face, then they would have just gone with the second take. Like, it's not the end of the world. But like, it's nice to have that as a reaction shot in that way. Whereas slapping your crew and cast around, yelling at them. I mean, all of the shit that Hitchcock did to his actresses, like, that's just fucking abuse. And like,
Yeah.
even I would argue things
I
like
agree.
when Tarantino strangles that actress in Inglourious Bastards.
Oh yeah, I've
Like
heard
that
about
kind
that.
of thing. I'm just a bit like,
Is that necessary?
right? Like,
Is that really necessary?
no. At the end of the day, it's not.
You know?
And it's something I'm really passionate about, that it's usually male directors, usually white, and often doing it to these people that don't seem to be in a position to fight back. They'll just lose their fucking job, and it's abuse. And yeah, I went on a little tangent there.
No, I totally agree with you, and this speaks to this movie because it really shows you like
the respect that Spielberg
Yeah.
wanted to set, the understanding that he was working with children as well.
Right.
And like he has, I don't know if it's him, I don't know if he employs someone to do it, but the performances he always gets from his child actors are always like brilliant.
Oh yeah, and sometimes I feel like Spielberg, you know, he honestly prefers child actors. You know, I think
they get it. He writes for them, doesn't he?
And I think like
so.
in most of his movies, he has at least one child actor, at least. You know, Jurassic Park. You know, Close Encounters. Poltergeist, everything, and Schindler's List. It just keeps going and going. You know, The Color Purple, like you know. So, I think that's amazing because when you see things through a child's eyes, you know, like it's a whole different ball game. Like, yeah, you see it through adults' eyes, and you do see how it changes them, but you know, a child's mindset is so critical in development.
Yes,
you know. I think that's where it really plays into like, wow, oh my gosh, that child just went through that. That's traumatic, or that's really devastating, or that's amazing, or you know.
Yeah, it's so
I think
true.
It just, yeah, and then that plays into the whole Elliot thing too. You know, like he's in that development stage. He's out of toddler stage, but he's like elementary, middle school, if I remember correctly. And that's a big stage to be going through, you know, and all the kids are, you know.
Yeah.
And just to see that, you know, oh man,
it's so good. Yeah, it's brilliant. And I think there's a quote somewhere by someone that Steven Spielberg said that he makes the kind of movies that he always wanted to watch as a kid. Yeah. And I imagine it must be so fun. I don't know, but I imagine if you're a child actor on a set of a Steven Spielberg movie, that must be so much fun.
Yes, I would think it's fun. Man, like, this guy has been behind some very, like, awesome films, you know, and has produced so many as well. I would like, if I ever got the chance, I hella would hop on the opportunity. So, you know, like I know he's coming out with West Side Story at the end of this year, and doing a remake of that. So I'm excited for that. I don't know what else is coming, but I would hop on it. Man, this guy's legend. He's him and George and a couple other folks are legend. You know. So, and I give props to Spielberg because he's also not afraid to go there either. Yeah. You know, he's not afraid to go there. Even, you know, this is more lighthearted and some of the other stuff that he's done, you know. But he is not afraid to touch on, like, what you're saying, you know, you do have the superficial story and then you have the underlying story of it all. You know, for this, you know, a kid is going through a divorce, and this is how it's playing out with his friend along the way with it, you know? Yeah. And then you have, like, some deeper ones, you know, like Schindler's List is, woo! You know, like, that's all I have to say there, you know? So, and I think it's awesome that he can go from the basic needs of humanity and what they're going through to even the worst aspects of humanity too. Definitely. You know, definitely the worst. And it also sheds light here. You know, I'll transition a little bit more to we're getting to like climax part. You know, like when Elliot, you know, says E.T.'s out there, and you know the brother goes and gets him, and you know they're both stick together. you know, and that just tells you right there how connected they are as friends. And then you have real, you know, NASA folks come up into the house and scare the shit out of everybody.
Yeah.
You know, and how
such an unnecessary entrance.
Right. NASA and the government per usual, you know, and it kind of shows you like, oh wow, also another underlining thing of, like you were saying, like how far we want to, you know, take control of these scientific, you know, discoveries, you know, how much control are we can have over it, you know? Because it is typical for the government to come in at the right time when you're about to do something amazing, probably with your scientific discovery, and it's like, oh, it's ours now, sorry.
This is us, yeah.
You know? So, yeah.
But the last 15 minutes of this movie is, you can't not watch it. If it's on, you're glued to the screen. It's such a fantastic lesson in pace and build up and suspense and joy, and they escape. ET's come back to life. The use of the flowers is gorgeous, and when he sees that the flowers are coming back, ET's alive. They take the van and they're like recklessly driving that through the neighborhood. Yeah. They get on onto their bikes. They're going, they think they've made it. It's so tense. They're going through the houses and then the government piles on them. So ET just like sends them up into the air.
I'm gonna fly out of here.
And then the music comes in and all the shot of the adults on the ground just like,
yeah, I know. Like, oh, I can't believe this. Like, holy shit, man. Like, no joke. Do you know that John Williams, he did that whole 15 minutes, you know, Spielberg purposely filmed it perfectly to that music. Like, he filmed every scene perfectly so it matched all the way through. And I was like, that is called being in sync with your crew. Like, so in sync, like, it's unbelievable. Like, I feel that way about Christopher Nolan and I think it's Hans Zimmer. Zimmerman, I think I said his last name wrong, but their music is also in sync too.
That's such a good point.
You know, and people, they really downplay musical scores or even movie scores, and it's like, no, they really do add to the emotion.
And it's so important. If you put that on mute, it wouldn't be the same movie that you're watching.
Exactly. It's like, oh, what did this kid do? What? Who the hell's this guy? Like,
yeah, literally.
It makes a big difference.
It's part of the storytelling, 100%. And then on the other side of that, lack of music adds to storytelling. So you need it so you can take it away for impact and stuff. And that doesn't even surprise me. I didn't know that. That's so interesting to know that he got the music and then storyboarded it to the music. And, you know, it's funny, you sit here and you're like, well, why doesn't everyone do that all the time? That just makes sense. Right. Like, that's how obviously you make a brilliant movie instead of just like slapping the music on at the last minute. But it's like a dance. It's choreographed. It's beautiful.
It definitely is choreographed. Like, every scene is so uniquely just perfect. You know, like, just from when they get there and then they shift to they're both E.T. and Elliot are right next to each other, you know. And that scene is a tearjerker too, you know, just watching him losing his friend. He's already going through the divorce and you just lost your good friend too. Like, that death scene is intense. Oh my God. You know, so and then he's revived, and it's just, your emotions are hooked at every point and second, you know, so you're really in for the ride there. Like, so good. I know it's crazy. Like, I was just when I saw that Steven, you know, he headed it to the music, so it's right on point. Like, it's so on point. And I also love the fact that he has kids on bikes running away, because that's exactly what I would have done as a kid. I had a bike. If it was time to go, I would have took the bike and gone. And it's more realistic, that sense, versus like kids trying to drive a car. I mean, they did. Yeah. They didn't do it the whole way, you know?
Yeah.
It was more realistic of kids trying to get away from something, you know?
Definitely.
it just makes it more real for the experience as you as a moviegoer and a person just watching. It's just
Yeah. That sums it up.
oh my gosh. So
I think I'd be interested to know if anyone doesn't like this movie and why. I would be really interested what their argument would be.
It's like, how can you not, like, I know that people think E.T.'s weird because the way he looks.
That's
but
the point.
Really, yeah.
He's a fucking alien. What do you want? Leave him alone.
Come on, he's short and stubby and ugly looking, but he twists pieces and he hangs with folks. You know, like it's crazy. Like I just, the crazy of the part is like it actually first premiered here in Houston in 1982. Yeah, H-Town for y'all. I'm in H-Town in Texas. And it first was previewed here, and that's when the reviews just took off like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And
I don't make them like this anymore. They don't.
It, like even, the top-notch Avengers, that did have everyone hooked, and I know that's playing off comics, and I feel like that's a different realm.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right, like Avengers wasn't magical. It just felt like, wow, this is awesome to see this pulled together in such a way. This is a whole different ballgame because of storytelling,
Yeah.
It's just so monumental, you know?
That's perfect.
I can't even, like, it is like my top movie. Like, people get so surprised when I am like, no, man.
It's funny, isn't it? I guess because it's almost in our subconscious now that like E.T. is a good movie and everybody loves it. So when you hold it there, I guess my thing would be like, well, of course E.T. is my favorite movie because how could it not be? Like it's
right.
like it's a perfect movie. Like
exactly.
that doesn't count. Like
right.
Everybody loves E.T. And maybe that's it, but maybe also just because it's like, I mean, it's in all of us, isn't it? I think as well. I think you'd be hard to find someone that's never heard of E.T. that couldn't tell you, like, if you were like, E.T., what are you thinking? Someone would go, E.T. phone home.
Right.
And like another person would go like, oh, they fly over the moon. Like everyone, even if you've never seen the movie, you know E.T.
Exactly. Unless you've been living under a rock.
Yeah.
You're perfectly right on that. Yeah. Like, how can you not know, Mm-hmm. It's like saying, I don't know who Harry Potter is. And it's like, whoa.
Like you do. I don't care if you've never read any of the books or seen any of the movies. You know who Harry Potter is. Like
exactly, exactly. Yeah, this movie. I just can't. I just can't. Like, it's just such a awesome movie, and I'm so happy. I'm so happy it's. Like not a lot of people know this, but when Star Wars came out, like the first Star Wars, and then when he puts this out, it surpassed Star Wars in the box office.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And then it was nominated for, I don't know how many BAFTAs it was nominated for, but Academy Awards there was tons, and it won 4, but it didn't win Best Picture, and I can't remember who won that year, but the person who went up there to accept the award, he was like, as much as I appreciate this award, I know E.T. deserves this because it was great storytelling and it was a magical story. Oh gosh. Yeah. When you think of it, that's all you can do. It's just take it in.
Yeah, it's impossible to articulate why this movie is so good, and even when you can articulate and break it down, it's still just something about the feeling of it. It's like a really comforting hug, this movie.
Yeah.
It's not too heavy, but it's not so light that it's forgettable. It's the perfect movie. And that's why Spielberg is where he is today, because he just makes fucking great movies. You can't say shit about his movies. Like, you genuinely can't.
Yeah.
Don't ever come for Spielberg on my watch.
I'm sure he'll be like, come for me, bro. I made TV. What did you make?
Yeah, literally.
You know, like, what do you got? You know,
everyone's got to like at least one Spielberg movie, because he's covered all genres.
Yeah.
He's covered everything. He just
his catalog. Oh man, it's ridiculous. Like, he's got a large catalog, really large one. But that between the I think it was the 80s to the early 90s, that was his prime.
Yeah.
You know,
he ruled the screen.
Prime time. You know, I mean, George had he also had the 80s too, due to Star Wars in the 70s, but woo boy.
I can't speak for everyone. I have no respect for George Lucas, and I have a lot of respect for Steven Spielberg.
Oh, I like how you said that. Please enlighten me on that. I know we're going on a tangent, but they're friends, so I gotta know this.
It just, Steven Spielberg didn't feel the need to go back and tamper with any of his stuff. I'm sure he is as capitalist and commercial as Lucas, possibly, but it never felt that way. It always felt like he was making these movies because he wanted to and because he needed to, whereas especially these days George Lucas feels like he's doing stuff for money, and it's just that very simple difference. Maybe he didn't start out like that, but I think Spielberg seemed to have a better hold of his movies as well. Like, when you look at some of the original ideas Lucas was coming out with, and that people had to turn around and be like, you can't do that, shit. And I don't know the stories of whether that happened to Spielberg or not, but I can't imagine, because it all came from his own past and experiences. I can't imagine it would be the same. So yeah, I don't know.
I can't. Like, I can definitely tell you, yeah, you're right on the whole, especially Star Wars is definitely commercialized to the 10th power, like beyond it. And he's getting paid like hand over fist, you know, like it is crazy, you know. I know that a lot of people have definitely taken over, you know, Disney is now taking over the whole Star Wars deal. And I know that he has an extension of what to say, but I don't necessarily think that his whole hands are completely in it anymore, you know. Like, I think he has his tidbits, but I don't think he's like fully into it anymore. So I feel like it's partially him as well as Disney, because Disney commercializes anything that is like the, you know,
if it moves, they'll commercialize it.
Yeah, it's like, oh, toy, you know, Mark, you know. So, yeah, I totally get you. And also too, like, a lot of people forget, you know, George first, I think his first real movie that people recognize is American Graffiti. You know, not many people go back to that film at all. You know, and that has nothing to do with sci-fi or anything. That's like a whole different ball game, you know? And yes, he did change the sci-fi game and visual effects, all that ordeal with Star Wars when it promoted. And I think it's awesome, you know? But I also think it's lost its
charm.
Yeah. Everything is now I mean, I've seen all the Star Wars, and I've decided that that's probably going to be my last Star Wars after the one that came out last year, because I just can't.
I'm over it.
Yeah, after Skywalker, it's like, what else can you do? You know, he was the main guy. Like, I don't want to know about these other people.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't want.
Or what I found was, I do want to know about these other people, but I feel like you're not letting me. After The Last Jedi, I was like, amazing, Star Wars is for me as a new fan, a new person. Like, I'm interested in this world and I want to see where we go in it. And then they were like, no, ignore everything that happened in that movie. We're gonna come back to this bullshit from the 70s. Get out of our fan base. Get out. No, this is for the 70s Star Wars. That's really how I felt. I was like, Jesus fucking Christ, all right, I'll leave, bye, fuck you. Like, that's my take on the Star Wars.
Yeah, Well, and it's that has ended. Avengers has ended.
Mm-hmm. And I'm over them all. I'm perfectly happy that they've ended, and they haven't ended. Like, we all know they haven't finished, but they're not getting my money anymore. Like, and that's the thing. I think the difference. Spielberg. I mean, you can argue whatever you want about the Jurassic World thing. I was actually very excited to see Jurassic World, and I enjoyed it. But I didn't have an affinity with the original movie as much. Whereas when I go back and watch the original movie, I'm like, oh yeah, Jurassic World fucking sucks in comparison to this. But like, other than that, I can't think that he's been so obsessed with Now I'm Alive, because he did the same for Indiana Jones. I'm trying to fight this man's corner, and every time I think of anything, I'm like,
I'm a personal fan of Indiana Jones, but only select ones. I think my favorite one is with Harrison and Sean Connery. That's my favorite one. Like top Indiana. The rest of them, they're okay. The first one's fine, but that one had me dying. So, but no, I don't know if we're going to see George as directing anything. I think he's personally done. Spielberg never. He's still going.
And rightly so.
But we'll see, but I think you're totally right on the commercialization of these big franchise movies, really big ones.
But then I've just I think, Spielberg still does it. It just, I don't pay as much attention, I guess, about it. I just pretend it hasn't happened.
His movies just have such a, I can't say, George really has Star Wars and Indiana Jones. Those are his two top. Spielberg has so many, and they all touch on different topics of humanity, so I think that's why he has a better standing in the film industry, and when it comes to respect,
I agree.
George does, but I feel like on a nerd base.
He's tapped into his market. He's got that for life.
Exactly. And there's tons of nerds in this world, including myself. But I think they're good friends, but they're on two different
very different
routes,
sides of the same coin almost.
I liked what you said when you're like, I wish they made movies like this again. And I know we talked about it, but I really hope they do.
Yeah. I thought they were gonna, a few years back, Steven Spielberg made Super 8, didn't he? Which was meant to be him going back. And I'm not gonna lie, I went to see it in the cinema. I can't really remember it.
Yeah, I feel you.
Just, someone needs to come in and just be a good storyteller for children. And you know what it is? And this is the whole reason I run this podcast, is the lack of respect for your audience. Because when Illumination Entertainment coming out with their ugly bullshit movies that treat kids like fucking morons and mainly appeal to like 50-year-old adults so they can share Minion memes on Facebook, that's not treating your audience with respect. Steven Spielberg takes these heavy topics and covers them in fun stuff, and it's a clever movie, and like, kids aren't fucking stupid, and stop treating them like they are. Stop giving them chewing gum for the eyes when you could give them a 3-course meal. And they might not like all of it, but when they grow up, they'll start eating more, and they can go back to it, and and you can still make toys out of good movies, okay? It's fine.
You're so right. I mean, especially with the way technology is, kids have more access to things than we did back in the day, you know? So, and that really changes the way someone consumes information and media and everything, you know? So I love how you said, chewing gum for the eye. I love it.
It's so insulting whenever I see a poster for some bullshit movie that's come out for children, and I'm just like, stop! Like, give them something to look forward to.
Yeah, that's why I like Shrek so much.
expensive. Like, come on. If they're paying £15 to be here, I mean, they won't because they're kids, but they're paying like £10 to be here. Like, give them something that's worth that. Fuck you. Oh, I know you only do it because you can, but it's annoying.
You're funny. Oh my gosh. Oh, Emily, I had a great time.
Yeah, thank you so much. Where can we find your podcast? Where
it is on Spotify, and actually just wrapped up. I did a last/bonus episode of the Oscars.
Nice.
And we just went through each category giving our predictions. And we also talked about the lack of inclusion and diversity, if you know what I'm saying. And also, too, YouTube BAFTAs. We all know what hell happened to you, you know. So, so we just did that. But you guys can find me on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and I'll definitely share the links too at What Size Drink Podcasts. However, you might see some rebranding here. Woo! Very soon, so with a different name, hint, hint. So,
exciting stuff.
FYI, yes.
Yeah,
but Emily,
all the links.
Yes, Emily, you're great, man. You're awesome at this. Keep doing this, please.
Oh, thank you.
We need some more like female movie-driven podcasts. Like,
100%.
That's another reason why I started, because I was like, I love my males, but I want to hear some ladies who've got strong opinions.
Yes.
So,
100%.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I have
awesome.
all the opinions.
Yes. I love it. Wow.
Yay. It was so lovely to meet you. Thank you so much for coming on. And
thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. You've been awesome, and you're hilarious. You are.
Thank you. So are you, man.
You are hilarious.
Hilarious women.
Whenever you want to bring me back, I got plenty of favorite movies we can discuss.
Yes, I'm going to go back through to your list and then bring you back on for all of them.
Let's do it.
She gave me some excellent choices.
I'm down.
Yay. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you next time on Why This Film. Bye.
Stay tuned at the end of this and every episode for your movie trivia question and to find out next week's film. If you enjoy Why This Film podcast, why not head to iTunes and leave a review? And you can now support Why This Film on Patreon. Head over to patreon.com/Why This Film podcast, where you can support us from as little as £1 a month. You can also find us on social media. We're on Facebook at Why This Film Podcast, Instagram at Why This Film Podcast, and Twitter at Why This Film Pod. You can also find us on YouTube at Why This Film, where I post challenging movie quizzes for the film nerd, so check it out if you think you're cool enough. If you'd like to be a part of Why This Film and chat about your favourite childhood movie, email in at whythisfilmpodcast@gmail.com. It's trivia time, and the aim of the game is drink. I'm going to give you 3 rules from a movie drinking game. You just have to tell me what the movie is. Drink when Harry speaks in Angrish, angels with filthy souls is used to prank someone, you see the tarantula. To answer, head over to any of our social media pages, find the question, and leave your answer in the comments. What movie are we doing next week, Emily? It's War Games. So there you have it. We'll see you then.
Hey everybody, I'm Corey.
And I'm Zach, and we're the hosts of Podcasting After Dark, a cast dedicated to late-night horror and sci-fi of the 80s and 90s, often found on HBO and Cinemax.
You know, the movies your parents didn't want you watching as a kid. You can find us every other week on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, and Stitcher.
This is what you want.
This is what you get.